Welcome to the Manifesting Doll podcast. I'm Barbara Orban from No Diet Babe. I'm a spiritual mindset coach and weight loss expert. If you are a spiritual babe wanting to up-level your life around your body, health, wellness, spirituality, law of attraction and manifestation, then this is the podcast for you. I'm here to give you the tools, teachings, and strategies to manifest the body and life of your dreams. As spiritual babes, we know to focus on love as opposed to fear. So get ready to learn how to implement spiritual teachings to weight loss, wellness, and your daily life, coming from a place of love and abundance. This is a celebration of how we can shift our inner perception of ourselves and watch our outer selves shift. You can become the best version of yourself, and I'm here to help. So let's get started. Hey babes, welcome to the Manifesting Doll podcast. I'm Barbara Orban from NoDietBabe.com, and welcome to today's episode. So in today's episode, I am going to talk about the whole coronavirus quarantine thing, because I know that a lot of you listeners might be in a position where you have to be quarantined, or you're deciding to quarantine yourself, you're deciding to socially distance yourself, and perhaps you're starting to feel some anxiety around this, how you're going to cope, and also in relation to your weight. And I mean, it might sound like a silly thing to be worried about your weight, but the reality is that a lot of people, maybe yourself, that is running in the back of your mind. It's not uncommon. You're not the only one that's going to be struggling with this little voice in the back of your head that's saying, oh shit, like, am I going to gain weight now because I'm not doing activities? I'm more sitting around at home. I'm maybe not working out. I'm not walking around from place to place. I'm not busy. Now when I'm sitting around and there's all this food in the house because I stocked up, I just have this desire to eat, and I just keep wanting to eat and eat and eat. So I'm going to talk about that today because I want to be able to support you through this time. Know that it's okay to feel how you feel. Know that it's okay to be thinking about yourself and your weight. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with you. It's okay to feel anxious during this time. It's okay to be a bit fearful, but it's also okay to be happy and not be fearful or anxious. You're okay to feel how you feel, okay? So, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And today's podcast episode is sponsored by my academy, which is currently open for the next 3 days. So make sure you check it out, nodietbabe.com/academy. It's the perfect time to look after your self-development, guys. I'm one of those people that's always focusing on self-development, but I know for some of you that perhaps have other things going on in life, now's actually the perfect time. Now's actually the perfect time to really, really just use this time as focusing on yourself. And that's really what I'm going to talk about today. So anyway, let's talk about why I'm talking about this. So basically, like I said, there's those of you out there who are really getting anxious about this in the back of your mind. Maybe it's something that you haven't spoken about. Maybe it's something that you feel a little bit embarrassed about or shameful, or it's in the back of your mind. Maybe you're just trying to push it away, it's not there. It's not anything I should worry about. But I'm going to address it for you today. So for some of you, quarantining, meaning staying at home and isolating yourself from other people, is an extremely scary thing to do. It might be that you live with people. It might be that you live on your own. But either way, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're in a couple, whether you have kids, you can feel the feelings of isolation and loneliness just as much as anyone else, okay? So the other thing is that we can approach this from a place of, oh shit, now that I'm isolating myself, I'm going to have issues with my mental health. I'm going to get more depression. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then we start creating this reality where that happens, because we're expecting it to happen. Okay. So it's something that I've fallen into this category last year when I quit my job. And that's why I it's really close to my heart, this topic, because it's something that I've literally just had to deal with. And I've felt the shifts without actually changing my circumstances. I've shifted my response to my circumstances. So the whole point of this is to realize that your circumstances are not what create your reality, because you will say, I'm going to gain weight because I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to gain weight because I'm at home and I'm eating more food as a result. I'm going to gain weight because I'm like, just the whole situation, right? Like of being at home, your brain's saying less movement, more food equals weight gain, right? And what I need you to understand is I'm asking you to look deeper than just saying, oh, but that's true. Oh, but calories in versus calories out. Oh, but losing weight is about a calorie deficit and gaining weight is about a calorie surplus. All of that's true. But what I'm asking, this isn't about your using logic. This is about how your subconscious mind is going to form beliefs and stories about how your life works for you. Okay? That's the basis of everything. And then that creates your behaviors, right? Your belief systems, which is the thoughts that you think day in and day out, create your behaviors. Full stop. That is your identity. That is the seed of everything that you are, okay? So if you're going to try and get angry at an apple tree and go, why aren't these apples turning into apricots when you didn't fucking plant an apricot seed? It's like that, okay? You can't be like, well, why the fuck am I gaining weight when I'm at home? And then on a surface level, what the typical advice is to go, well, let me just, what I want you to avoid doing is let me just keep myself busy on a surface level. Let me just do something else. Let me just watch Netflix, or let me just read a book. Let me take a bath. Let me call a friend. Let me do this. Let me do that. Because I'm feeling anxious. Because I'm feeling fearful. Because I'm feeling lonely. Because I'm scared of my cravings. Because I keep getting hungry. All of that is you're still just taking action from the energy that's not giving you a result that you want. Right? So what you want to do is, although practical action like that can serve you, right? It can serve you. If you're hungry and instead of eating a whole bag of chips, you call a friend, right? That's one thing. But what happens after you get off the phone and then a thought pops into your head again? Ooh, there's so many bags of chips in the pantry. And then you start getting into this argument in your head, and then there's going to be a point where that voice wins. There's going to be a point where that voice in your head, you convince yourself that it's okay to eat the whole bag of chips. You convince yourself to eat the whole block of chocolate. You convince yourself that it's okay, right? And once it's done, it's done. It's okay, whatever. But it's about understanding that that voice isn't you, okay? That is what I'm talking about as the seed of who you are and what you're allowing yourself to think and believe. Okay. So the whole thing is here that you don't want to live in a world. This is like when you're creating your own reality, right? You decide how life gets to be for you. You're literally deciding how your life gets to be for you. Don't fall into the pattern of not being able to decide and not being able to have a choice. What are you afraid that's going to happen if you decide that something else gets to work for you? What? That it's too far-fetched? That you're a fool for believing it and then it might not work out? That you might fail? Notice how this is all just ego thoughts as well. And the truth is that, let me tell you about my experience. So I was one of those people that would always gain weight if I spent too much time at home. I would always gain weight when I felt lonely. I would gain weight if I allowed myself to have too many snacks in the house, like chocolates, cakes, like anything that I told myself was bad and fattening. If I had it in the house, I couldn't trust myself around it. If I was at home too much or like watching TV or lazing around, I would eat too much. Like laziness for me would automatically drive me to eat, right? Sitting around doing nothing would drive me to eat. Boredom would drive me to eat. Loneliness would drive me to eat. I didn't necessarily feel that I was bored. I didn't necessarily feel that I was anxious. I didn't necessarily feel that I was lonely, although at times I did. But it also exists that you don't feel those emotions. You simply have the desire to eat all the time. So that is why we need to understand that if you're struggling around food, i.e. you like eat a whole bag of chips and then go, why did I do that? It's because of the underlying emotions that you're not aware of, basically. So yeah, like for me, it always used to be the case. So a situation like what we're facing right now, or like, I mean, I'm laughing at, I've basically posted a story today about quarantine. Like that's how I currently live already. Like I've been quarantined for the last year. Like not really, but like it has felt like I've just kind of been in isolation. I'm going to talk more about that in a sec. But yeah, like this kind of situation in the past I guarantee you, I would have gained like 5 or 10 kilos, like easily, which is like, for those of you that work in pounds, I just always double it. So I would gain like 10 to 20 pounds or whatever quite easily in this type of situation. I always used to fluctuate in weight depending on the circumstances that I was in, depending on whether or not I was eating good or bad, quote unquote, okay? So that was my life, and that's not my life anymore. So changing that, like I always say, was about changing the seed, was about going within and changing the brain patterns, the thought patterns, okay? So then now I used to be that person and I'm not that person. Now, when I quit my job over a year ago, there was that voice in my head of like, this is it. Like you're going to gain it all back. You're not going to be able to cope with the isolation of working at home. You're not going to be able to cope. Because my life went from dental hygienist meaning I am cleaning people's teeth. I was also a dental therapist. I was basically a dentist, seeing children and adults every single day. And I would speak to multiple people all the time. I would have my dental nurse that I would talk to all the time. I'd have the dental receptionists that I'd talk to, the other dentist. Like I would talk to patients. Like I would be surrounded by people all day long. And then suddenly I was taken out of that. I was working from home. I was talking to clients, but it was via the internet. It wasn't in real life. And then suddenly it was that same feeling of like, wow, like I don't see anyone. I don't have human contact anymore. I feel so isolated. I feel so lonely. Now, what if I gain weight? Like, what if I gain all this weight back that I lost 5 years ago? Or what if like it just doesn't work out anymore? And like I tell my clients this all the time of like how I overcame that and how that's just not an issue for me. It really isn't. And that can happen. Like that voice can come in, right? So then like how do we actually change that reality? Like how do we change that reality? Well, to me, first of all, number one thing, it isn't just about like the surface level stuff. Like, oh, let me just use willpower and ignore the cravings and ignore, and let me just distract myself. Even if that's like part of the tools that you use, if you use that alone as your only tool, you're going to get frustrated, okay? I'm going to be honest with you here. You're going to get really frustrated if you think that that's the only component. Oh, just like use willpower. Just like stop yourself. Just like why? It's not that hard. Like just from another person's perspective, they might think, well, if you don't want to gain weight, then just don't eat it. Just stop eating it. Just stop craving it. Just stop thinking of it. Just stop focusing on it. But it's like me telling you right now, don't think about a pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. It's like what image literally pops into your mind? A pink elephant. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not how your brain works. Your brain doesn't understand that you don't want to think about that. You telling yourself not to eat it is your brain going, eat it, right? You're spending a lot of time arguing in your head and just prolonging the struggle. You're just creating more of that struggle, right? So how do you overcome it? Well, basically, you have to dig deep. Like I said, you have to get to the seed. You have to figure out that it's who you are is just a combination of your perceptions and attitudes about life. That's really what it comes down to, is that your perceptions and attitudes about your life and how it gets to be for you create your behaviors and create the decisions that you make in life every single day. And then it's your decisions and your behaviors that end up causing the consequences or the gratification, like the receiving of what you want, right? So you have to dig deeper. Like you have to work on your limiting beliefs. You have to work on the stories that you tell. Not only that, but like I said, that's one aspect, right, of manifestation. Is let's look at our limiting beliefs. Let's look at the stories that I tell myself. But you can't just say, let me just think like a thin person, then I'll be a thin person. That's like, you're not... People who think it's that simplistic and then dismiss it as like just pseudoscience or like make believe actually are very extremely unconscious to the reality, and they're very much identified with the voice in their head as themselves, and they have no conscious awareness of how they're creating their own reality. So then they dismiss it as make believe or like woo crazy shit, right? And that's okay. You're here because you don't think like that, right? You're here because you get what I'm saying. You're here because you fully understand that you create your own reality. You fully understand how the universe works in this aspect. And so you want to shift it. You're like, okay, I know that something better can exist for me. I know that I've manifested other things in my life. I know that I can work on this just the same way. That's what I'm saying, is that you have to look at the way you relate to things, how you relate to hunger, how you relate to fullness, how you relate to weight in general, right? That is some deeper work. It's not also just the surface level manifestation stuff of like, let me just think as if I'm a thin person. Let me act as if I'm a thin person. There's multiple like deeper aspects to that I teach about, right? That once you understand and can integrate it, you will genuinely notice a shift in your hunger. So then it isn't about willpower any longer, because you suddenly experience a different feeling around food. And I went from somebody who would not believe that to be possible to somebody who's experienced that for the last 5 years, somebody who struggled with it for over 10 years to somebody who hasn't struggled with it for the last 5 years. So it's 100% possible. And I've coached clients through it as well. Like many people I've coached have gone from binge eating to losing weight and maintaining it. So it is possible. But anyway, like here's the gist of today's episode anyway, like because I'm kind of getting off track, but like the whole quarantining thing. And like I said in the beginning, it's okay if you feel anxiety about it all. It's okay if you currently feel some scarcity around money. It's okay if you currently feel like panic because you're listening to the news and you're not sure what, like, you know, the unknown, like what's going to happen. And then like, it's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to honor those feelings, but just realize that you have access to different feelings. Okay. You have access to feelings of abundance. You have access to feelings of stability, like a deep knowing that you are safe, you are protected, and things are going to work out for you. You have access to a feeling of security, okay? Whether it's around money, whether it's about relationships, your feelings of connection with other people and love with other people versus feelings of loneliness and isolation. You have access to emotions that you want to feel, even if you don't feel like you can in your current situation. That's because of the belief systems that you have about your current circumstances. And I have had to learn this because, like I said, I was put from a situation of being surrounded by people and feeling somewhat like I'm around people to not being around people as well. And it affected my mental health a lot last year. I am not going to lie to you. It has affected me a lot. But I see it as a gift because it brought me down into areas of depression that I hadn't experienced since my emotional eating days. And I was like, I didn't have the same response with gaining weight as I did, but also it forced me to look at those belief systems and see why I am in this position, and looking back at my childhood and connecting the dots. And I didn't have a bad childhood. I had a really good childhood, but it doesn't matter who you are. All of us have had something in our childhood that if we want to grow as people from child into adult, there are unconscious programs running in our brain that are creating our reality in ways that we don't necessarily want it to do, right? There are things that are in the background of your mind that are creating situations in your life that you no longer want to be in. And it is possible to change all that 110%. And so when you're feeling these feelings of loneliness and isolation and lack of connection with people, it can really feel like that you have to change the circumstance. Like you can't, like you're feeling restless, you're feeling bored, you're feeling discontentment, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling in agony about being isolated and not having social things going on, not connecting with people, not going to work and working with people, it doesn't have to mean that your mental health declines. It doesn't have to. And it's okay if, here's the other thing. Number one, it doesn't have to decline. Number two, it's okay if it does. Okay? Because mine did. But I'm now on the other end where I'm like, oh, wow, now I get it. Okay, cool. I see that I've created this. I see that the universe was prompting me, that it was actually a gift, that it's actually a gift that you are in the position you are in now because you are forced to look at your relationship with yourself. You are forced to look at your relationship with food. It's a gift. This is a gift. This is an opportunity for so many people across the world to be forced to focus on themselves for once in their life. Like, rather than being in this unconscious, headless chook mentality of busy, busy, busy. Oh, I'm so stressed. Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, it's so good to be busy all the time because I'm a martyr and suffering equals good, right? I'm a good person because I work hard and I struggle. That, you get to take a break from that. You get to create your own space right now. It's a gift. You get to turn within before and build up a solid, use this time to become more solid in who you are. And then when you go back out into the world, you will feel and experience and interact differently with other people if you use this time wisely. So use this time. If your mental health does decline, if something does decline, that's okay too. You can still come out of that as well. Nothing is ever forever. Okay, life is fluid. It's always moving. Your brain will try to tell you, I'm like this, and then slip. Like, it's like basically getting a tattoo on your forehead of I'm depressed, I'm lonely, I'm anxious. But there's no such thing as a label like that. We're always wanting to put a label on something. That's okay. You can experience those feelings, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that you can't feel different moment to moment. It doesn't mean you're always going to feel that way. Okay? And in that moment, when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling isolated, when you're feeling upset, that's not the time to say, don't feel like that. That's not the time to say, stop feeling like that. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, right? That's the time to honor where you're at. Okay, there are other levels you can be at, but that's you don't get there by pushing yourself to go there. You allow yourself to go there. But that's something that I talk in deeper in like my coaching and in my courses, right? Of how to raise up the levels, right? And I also, like it's something that I do, especially when I'm working like one-on-one with somebody. So that's the thing, you guys, like it's okay. Let's just like a collective consciousness. Let's just look to a time where everything's resolved, where we look back and go, wow, like we've moved past that stage of the world. Everything is going to work out. Like everything always works out. Everything always works out in the end. Like we go through phases, but we don't have to make it mean that there's like something that is not going to work out, that we're not going to be okay in the end. Okay? And like I said, use this time wisely. See it as a gift. If you feel inspired to, you can tap into the emotions that you want to experience because they are available to you. despite what you may think being in the current situation that you are. Trust me, I've seen it now. I get it now. I'm experiencing different emotions more and more and more, and not the feelings of isolation and disconnection and depression. I'm starting to see that it's okay. So you can too, trust me. If I can, anyone can, seriously, because yeah. So yeah, like everything's going to be okay. Like I said, if you're having trouble with this fear of like hunger and this fear of I'm craving something every 5 minutes, there's so much food in the cupboard, I'm bored, I'm restless, I'm watching Netflix but then I eat, I'm like doing this but then I still eat, I'm trying to distract myself but then I still eat, and I'm just stuck. I feel like the world is crashing down and I can't handle this. Then I invite you to check out my course, the No Diet Babe Academy, because it is for you. I've designed it for the version of what I used to be. Basically, couldn't stop thinking about food, tried to use willpower, tried to like control it with diet alone. And I'm here to give you all these tools that will help you throughout this process right now to break it down and know and feel like you don't have to gain weight during this time. This doesn't have to mean that, you know, I'm not going to the gym and I'm eating more food. I'm sitting on the couch. This means I'm going to gain weight. That doesn't have to happen. Trust me, that doesn't have to happen. I'm telling you now, you need to stop listening to people that tell you that it has to happen, because they don't know what they're talking about. Don't copy people with limited thinking, because they are unconscious to what is can actually happen. Okay, anyway, you guys, go check it out, nodietbabe.com/academy. Like I said, also reach out to me, hello@nodietbabe.com, if you're wanting to use this time for one-on-one coaching as well. Now's the perfect time. Like I said, use this time wisely. If you feel guided to do any of my courses or coaching, then go ahead. I would love for you to take part and see transformation in your life. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you loved this episode, I'd love for you to leave me an iTunes review. Don't forget to follow this podcast for more uplifting teachings to come. For more tips, inspiration, and teachings, come follow me on Instagram @NoDietBabe, or check out my website, nodietbabe.com. Until I see you next time, babes, lots of love.